everybody, we are the Fearless Photography Guys. I'm Michael.
And I'm Neil. And today we're doing a review of the D500. Look, folks, we're going to move through this pretty quick. I'm not going to show you all the technical aspects of this. This isn't an hour and a half review. I'm going to tell you what I like, maybe what I don't like, and then I'm just going to give you a few setup things on this camera. Right out of the chutes, I really like this camera. I got it. My family and I were going on a trip out west. I wanted to be able to shoot wildlife. We were going to be out by the grizzly bears. It has been a fantastic wildlife camera. We were shooting it in the duck blind the other day. Here's the thing. It is a crop sensor camera. Okay, a lot of people want full frame. And I'm not going to get into the whole debate about whether a crop sensor really magnifies. I know it doesn't. It doesn't matter. The effective focal length does change in a sense, okay, because you're cropped in tighter right out of the get-go. So when you see a DX camera, just so you know, that is a crop sensor camera on a Nikon. That's their label for that DX. It is 20.9 megapixels. That's a lot of image to deal with, okay? I mean, we were shooting, gosh, back in the day, 6 megapixel, and that was big at that time. So 20.9, you've got a lot of flexibility with it. 10 frames per second. If you're going to get 10 frames per second, you need the MB-D10 battery grip, okay? It is handy. It's got the other button up here, so if you're shooting vertical. Do you like these battery grips? Have you used those much?
I have not.
It's nice, then you can... Really
I just have never run into a problem where I've needed it yet, so...
Do you know, in all reality, it's not a need.
Yeah.
Unless you want 10 frames per second
Yeah.
here. I think otherwise it's probably at like 8, I want to say. It drops a couple frames per second. I just shoot one shot and then I follow up with another shot and so on. I'm trying to catch the animal in an exact moment. Even on birds in flight, I'm trying to catch their wings at some point in time. So I'm still single click shooting. Right. I got to try this more, though. Maybe I'll like it. For some people, though, that's a really big deal. It does shoot 4K video, and it will do that in up to 30 frames per second. I think it's 24, 25, and 30. So you're not going to get 60 or 120. But as an interview camera, it works out really well. Okay? And you've edited some of my footage on that.
Yeah.
So, it's fine footage.
Yeah, it's look good.
Yeah. Now, I've got this paired with the 2-400 lens right now. This camera rarely comes off that because other than occasionally using it for a video shoot, I just leave it on here and I carry it in the, this came with the lens. It's, it's basically its own camera bag, but it only holds the camera with this lens. So that's what so it rarely comes off. It's just always, all I'm using this for typically is wildlife. So I'm gonna get into this, show you the autofocus system and how it works. So you gotta go into the menu and this is your camera menu, your video menu. This is your custom shooting menu and that's what we're gonna utilize here. And then we go into autofocus. Now, you got AFC priority selection. If you wanna go into that and check that out, I just leave that at release, okay? AFS priority selection, I have that at focus, okay, for single, all right, that's what that is. So that's AFC is continuous and AFS single, okay, focus tracking with lock on, I go down here, I leave the face detection off, but then here, get into focus points. Oftentimes when I'm shooting birds in flight, it's happening so fast, some people are single point shooters on that, I just use the 55 point autofocus. That's how I set it up. Okay. And that's it. That's my autofocus setup. Now, if you're going to adjust between single, let's see if I can get this here, between so this is, sometimes I do shoot in manual. Okay. So it's right there. And then AF. Now, if I press this button with the back command dial, that's where I can change between the single point AF and the continuous, and or single point, the multiple point, and continuous. So you just press that button and move this command dial here. All right. Now, typically you want to be shooting in continuous when you're shooting birds in flight, so that it's always moving with that. So that's that. I'll give you a couple other just setup things that I do on this. Okay. I put my initials in for file naming. This is a complex computer, okay? Choose image area, okay? I just use the DX. That's enough of a crop to me, and it's also gonna get you a bigger image, okay? And then image quality, I always shoot in RAW, always, always, always. That's gonna give you, And most often I'm leaving my white balance in auto 1. If you're shooting movie, okay, in the movie shooting mode, you're just gonna go in here, okay? So you gotta get to this right here and then just run in here. And then you've got your destinations, you got your image area again, and this is where you can choose your frame size and frame rate. So you can shoot in 60p, but then you're in standard def. I'm always shooting 1920 by 1080 typically, okay? There it is, 1920 by 1080, 24 is what I'm usually shooting this in if I'm shooting movie. You can shoot this in 60 frames per second, and you can shoot it in 4K. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Sometimes, you know, a 720 is nice if you're just uploading to YouTube or something like that. Standard definition is fine. A lot of people are viewing it on their phones, but I do everything in 1920 by 1080. If you want to get the info of where you're at on the screen, you just go right there. If you want to get it to, if you want to shoot using the screen, you just go right there. You just hit the live button to shoot movie. You go there and hit live. Okay, then you shoot movie. I always leave it on for shooting wildlife. I'm always in auto ISO, and then I just go to manual. You change your modes like this. So you just go mode, and then move your command dial. Program, manual, aperture. Sometimes I'll shoot wildlife in aperture priority. I'll just take and usually with a lens like this, you're going to want to be in like a 6.3, even though you can shoot in 4. Or even a 7.1. So sometimes I'll shoot wildlife in aperture priority. And, you know, if you're doing that, either 6.3 or 7.1, you want to leave a little bit of depth to that because the animal will go out of focus so fast if you're at a long range with a low aperture. So your ISO is right there. This is your movie record. This is if you want to adjust your exposure, right? ETTR with wildlife exposed to the right. And you can just make some simple adjustments there. So I don't know, that's pretty much it in terms of how I use this in terms of setup. I keep it pretty simple. All right, subscribe if you haven't, folks, please.
Thanks, guys.
Please. All right, thanks.